Let me start by thanking you for your attention and the conference organisers for giving me the opportunity to contribute to your discussions. I only regret that UK public health regulations make it difficult for me to join you in Ghana this week. I'm speaking to you today on behalf of the World Gold Council, the market development organisation for the gold industry. I'll speak principally about the responsible gold mining principles and then briefly about some of the policy challenges associated with artisanal and small-scale mining. Although the World Gold Council is governed by 33 of the leading gold mining companies, it aims to speak for the whole gold sector. It looks, through innovation and standard setting, to optimise the operation of the gold market. You'll see on this slide that many of our member companies are long-standing and committed investors in Ghana. The main focus of my remarks today is the creation of the Responsible Gold Mining Principles, or RGMPs. Based on extensive stakeholder input, including from governments, supply chain actors and civil society, the framework seeks to build a consensus around what constitutes responsible gold mining. Launched in 2019, the principles have a 3-year ramp-up phase which requires implementing companies to achieve conformance by an initial deadline of September 2022. Conformance will be tested at both the site and corporate level. The assurance report will provide information to refiners to help them discharge their responsible sourcing due diligence obligations and provide reassurance to investors that the gold they're sourcing has been produced responsibly. Above all, it is intended to strengthen our industry's social licence to operate and to mark a step change in transparency and accountability. The principles are built on the foundation of key international regulatory and normative instruments, such as the United Nations Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights, the Sustainable Development Goals, and multi-stakeholder processes such as the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, or EITI. The principles were the subject of a global consultation involving over 300 stakeholder groups, including governments, investors, civil society, companies, and industry experts. In addition to direct outreach and online participation, our work was informed by independently hosted roundtables convened by organisations such as the World Bank in Washington and the Inter-American Development Bank in Peru. Crucially, the consultation was not just for show. We listened extensively and broadened the range of issues covered and raised the performance bar in a number of respects. The involvement of the gold industry's leading companies and piloting at site level means that the principles are pragmatic and practical, but crucially, the performance expectations have been set by our stakeholders. The end result of all the talking and listening are 3 documents, available from the World Gold Council website in 6 languages. These documents are the principles, the assurance framework, and an implementation support document which sets out the type of evidence that companies will need to produce to establish their conformance. The framework consists of 10 umbrella principles, 3 covering governance, 4 covering social topics, and 3 focused on the environment. Beneath these umbrellas nestle 51 performance principles, each of which sets out detailed expectations. All World Gold Council member companies are committed to implementing the principles and to seeking independent assurance. But many non-member companies, such as Harmony Gold from South Africa, Perseus from Australia, and Nord Gold from Russia, are also committed to implementation, establishing the principles as a de facto industry standard. Principle 1 commits companies to running their businesses with integrity and to combating bribery and corruption. Beneath this are 6 more detailed provisions covering the need for each company to have a publicly available code of conduct, to publish their tax and royalty payments to governments, to assign responsibility for sustainability issues, and to pay the correct level of tax. Principle 2 commits implementing companies to understanding and managing their impacts through effective risk management systems, including understanding the risks that the company's activities may pose for local people and not just the risks faced by the company. It also sets out expectations in relation to social and environmental impact assessment, stakeholder engagement processes, due diligence procedures, and ensuring that if something goes wrong, the company has a grievance mechanism to ensure that stakeholders can obtain redress. Principle 3 covers one of the most effective ways in which mining companies can support sustainable development, through a proactive approach to local procurement and responsible supply chain policies. Principle 4 deals with the promotion of safety and occupational health for both employees and on-site contractors. It is particularly pertinent at a time of global pandemic and covers safety management systems, occupational health, community health, and emergency planning. Principle 5 involves a commitment to respecting the human rights of the mine workforce and affected communities. It also mandates alignment with the UN guiding principles on business and human rights and the voluntary principles on security and human rights. Finally, it mandates the use of the conflict-free gold standard, which is an industry standard for the implementation of the OECD's due diligence guidance on responsible sourcing. Principle 6 relates to labour and employment rights, including fair remuneration, preventing harassment and discrimination in the workplace, the prevention of child or forced labour, and providing for freedom of association and collective bargaining. Now, our industry has not always been a friendly environment for women. We're making progress, but a lot more remains to be done to ensure that our mines are more diverse and that women are given paths to career advancement. We were therefore delighted when the Women in Mining UK organisation welcomed the RGMPs as the most advanced industry framework for the rights of women, both in the workplace and in surrounding communities. Umbrella Principle 7 commits implementing companies to contribute to the socio-economic advancement of communities associated with their operations and to treat them with dignity and respect. The performance principles cover consultation and the steps that companies should take to understand the needs and dynamics of their local communities, including the views of those who are typically marginalised. They also set out expectations on the creation of local benefits, seeking ongoing community support, the management of in-migration, resettlement, and the rights of Indigenous peoples. Principle 8 is the first of 3 that deal with environmental issues. The topics covered in this category include the management of tailings dams and large-scale water infrastructure, cyanide and hazardous wastes, and mercury, both as a byproduct of gold mining and as a malign feature of some artisanal gold mining. The principles strongly support the mercury reduction objectives of the Minamata Convention and also set out expectations on the management of those ultra-local impacts: noise, dust, vibration, and blasting. Principle 9 states that implementing companies will work to ensure that fragile ecosystems, habitats, and endangered species are protected from damage and will plan for responsible mine closure. It focuses in particular on the impacts of mining on biodiversity, on forestry, on land use, and planning for mine closure. Umbrella Principle 10 deals with responsible resource use and relates to climate change, energy efficiency, water use, collaboration with other water users, and water purity. As I mentioned earlier, implementation is subject to annual independent assurance at both a corporate and site level from 2022. This slide sets out what companies will need to do to show their compliance and what to do if something goes wrong to bring themselves back into conformance. In summary, they'll need to be transparent about the problem and about what is being done to resolve it. This remedial action will have to be completed in a timely way and signed off by the assurance provider. There are ramp-up provisions in the first 2 years of implementation which focus on self-assessment and gap analysis. This period for preparation, which itself is subject to independent scrutiny, emphasises that the principles are demanding and constitute a high bar, but are also designed pragmatically to help companies to reach the required level of performance within a reasonable period. Some companies also report against other sustainability frameworks. We are therefore reaching agreement with their sponsor organisations, like the International Council on Mining and Metals, to ease the audit burden by establishing in which areas there is equivalence, so that audit and assurance tasks can be undertaken efficiently and without duplication. The equivalency document between the RGMPs and the ICM mining principles is available now on both organisations' websites. May I, in closing, turn to the area of artisanal and small-scale gold mining, or ASGM. The number of people participating in ASGM has broadly trebled over the last 20 years, driven by high gold prices and social pressures around poverty, unemployment and migration. About 20 million people are estimated to participate directly in ASGM. Unfortunately, the sector is overwhelmingly informal, or in some situations, illegal or even criminal. This has led to a strong association between some ASGM activities and mercury pollution, bad safety conditions, child labour and conflict. It's important that these societal ills are tackled, and this requires governments and a range of other stakeholders all to play their part. The World Gold Council sees government leadership and the pursuit of formalisation for responsible ASGM entities as important. Formalisation is not a silver bullet, but can improve the ability of ASGM cooperatives to borrow money to invest in their asset, make them less vulnerable to extortion by criminal or armed groups, and helps to facilitate processes like refiner due diligence. Formalisation can also involve additional costs, such as taxes, permitting processes, and safety equipment. So it's important to design programs with these costs in mind so as to make them sustainable. The World Gold Council is keen to ensure that there is progress in improving the situation of responsible ASGM entities and see a reduction in illicit gold flows. We're working on a document for publication around the end of the year that looks at good practices at managing the interface between LSM and ASGM, what we're calling our Lessons Learned report. If we're to see progress in reducing the marginalisation of responsible ASGM, then a whole range of actors will have to be engaged. Hence, the World Gold Council has just published a report on the potential for central bank domestic ASGM purchase programmes to promote a number of policy objectives. It's based on an analysis of 4 central bank programmes from Ecuador, Ethiopia, Philippines and Mongolia. The report shows how such programmes can not only help countries to build their gold reserves in a cost-effective manner, but can, in the process, leverage progress with formalisation, improve miners' access to banking services, and promote mercury reduction. I note that the Governor of the Central Bank of Ghana has just announced the launch of a domestic purchase gold programme, and I hope that our report will help to inform its design. Please visit our website gold.org and get in contact if you would like to learn more. We look forward to working with mining companies in Ghana to ensure there is greater understanding in wider society around the contribution that our industry makes in areas like the delivery of the Sustainable Development Goals. This final slide gives my contact details. Please feel free to send through your comments or questions and I will try to respond. Thank you.